I have Mitali Nikore with me, who is an economist, analyst, and also somebody who feels passionately about jobs, employment, and the economy. Mitali, to you, tell us what are the big challenges for Finance Minister this time, and what are the big expectations? Because there is a slowdown in the economy, growth needs to be pushed, but at the same time, welfare seems to be the key word in politics that needs to keep going on, and the middle class also needs to feel it's not really taking the burden of the country. So what are the
First of all, thanks a lot, Vasudha, for having me on the show. It's really incredible to be in this atmosphere at Vijay Chowk here this morning, discussing the future of our country in many, many ways, isn't it? Because as you rightly said, today we are facing global headwinds that we've never faced before in the history of the Indian economy. And this is because today we face a world where the US is kind of abandoning its role as a global market maker, and the US is looking at emerging economies like India to also take more of a global leadership role when it comes to global value chains. And I do think that there is going to be a huge re-engineering of our exports, of our value chains, and we're going to see different types of tariffs either being imposed on our products or maybe on products that we import for our exports as well. So this is going to have a huge impact on the cost of living, because at the end of the day, these are the goods and services that we are producing and consuming. So I think the challenge is unprecedented. The second reason why there's a massive challenge is because this government has been elected on the promise of doing better for the citizens in terms of standard of living. Now, what do we mean by standard of living? Is it the air we breathe, the water we drink, the kind of housing that we are able to afford, the rents we pay? It's the kind of jobs that our youth and ourselves can aspire to. It's about the aspirations of the middle class, moving to an upper middle or a higher income class, being able to start businesses. So all of these aspects which come into standard of living, the government has to deliver on that, because they lost seats because of the jobs crisis, they lost seats because of the cost of living crisis, and they can no longer afford to ignore these concerns. And of course, there is the third pillar, I would say, the ongoing concerns of the lower income segments, where agriculture becomes an important priority. We talk about it every year. We don't see structural reforms, and that's now feeding into cost of living.
I also have Neeraj Mishra, who's joining me from the Congress Party, apart from Mitali Nikore, who's an economist and analyst. Neeraj, we saw P. Chidambaram's press conference yesterday. The Congress has pointed to some very, serious concerns with regard to economy. But the government is saying that, we've also been distributing job offers. We've been clearing out vacancies. The data when it comes to, PLFS or NSSO has also been showing that there's been an uptick when it comes to employment. How do you read this? What are the things that the government should be getting right?
Vasudha, first of all, this NDA government stands for no data available, because for last 11 years, in the initial 7-8 years, NSSO was not able to give out any data. And whatever RTIs went there, they said we are not tracking what is happening. So before I give you the numbers, which were already shared by P. Chidambaramji, let us visualize what is going to happen in the next 48 hours. Once the finance minister wakes up and sips on her 1,000 rupee kgs coffee or chai, whatever she prefers, she'll don her Kanjivaram sari, which will be at least 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 rupees. And then she'll sit in a car which will be at least 50 lakh rupees, and then come to the parliament for the halwa ceremony, where if that ghee which is being used, if it is organic, it would be around 5,000 rupees a kg, and whatever the atta prices are, And then she'll be presenting a budget for the common man who's struggling to at least meet 100 rupees a day, because 1/3 of this country's population is striving to just make 100 rupees a day. So there's a big disconnect between the policy makers and the people who are being affected by the policies. And when last evening, when Mr. Chidambaram came on record and he presented the fact that we are in a downward spiral when it comes to our economy, the government has already missed its targets of 8% growth. We are sitting at 6%. And if we take on average, for last 11 years, the growth has been around 4.55%. So this government, which came with a hope that they'll take long shots at the economy and turn around whatever was happening, they have missed it. And what is very saddening and fearing in sense of economy and political democracy is hopelessness of the people. And today people have lost hope that this finance minister and this prime minister will bring in any policy which will help the common man. This is a government which has taxed the common man for the most term. When it comes to excise import duties on petroleum, you know we are taxing 21% when it comes to excise policy, which should have come down. Because in last 3 years, the price of crude has almost come down by 40%. But that incentive is not being given to the common people. When it comes to employment generation, you are seeing we are standing at a 45-year high, all-time high of what kind of unemployment we have. And especially because people are returning to the agrarian economy, the farmer economy, it is a cause of concern for us. Because we had thought that we are competing with countries like US, like China, and with the demographic dividend we have, we are missing on these very possible targets. Shows you that this government is not concerned about the common people. They just want to help their crony friends.
Okay. Okay, one last comment from Mitali Nikore. Mitali, is there also a need to change the definition of jobs, and is there, need to have some sense of out-of-box thinking? Because, a lot of people, be it social media influencers, party chefs, they seem to be really doing well. What are the areas that the government should be focusing on for these emerging jobs?
So absolutely. I think today as we spoke, jobs are the #1 challenge for the economy. And it is very important for the government as well as for private sector to realize that artificial intelligence and digitization
Okay,
are here
Mitali,
to
we'll have to just take a quick break. I'll come back to you. We are right outside the parliament. Budget session is all set to begin in a few minutes from now. We are with Neeraj Mishra from the Congress Party and Mitali Nikore, who's an analyst and economist. We will be back after this short break. Hello everybody, we are coming to you from right outside the parliament. The budget session of the parliament is all set to begin in a few minutes from now. In fact, President of India Draupadi Murmu will be addressing the both sessions, both houses of the parliament in her joint sitting. And of course, after that, the economic survey gets tabled, which will give us an idea of the state of economy that we are in right now. Joining me now is Mitali Nikore, who's an economist and analyst. We also have Neeraj Mishra from the Congress Party. Mitali, we were talking about the kind of jobs that the country is generating, and also the kind of difference in outlook that we need to have right now. We don't really have those traditional jobs anymore. It's not like a private sector naukri, or for that matter a sarkari naukri. There are also jobs that are being created in different sections of the society where the person probably doesn't have to work 9 to 5, but there's a lot of impetus on creativity, innovation, futuristic jobs is what they say. What do these things actually mean? How can we actually identify those areas and skill our people accordingly?
Absolutely, Vasudha. I mean, as we've been discussing, jobs are the #1 concern for the economy, for the finance minister. Now, what kind of jobs are we going to see in the future? The first and most important trend is digitization. We have to see people working with machines much more. We have to see people working with machines not only in the services sector with artificial intelligence and generative AI like ChatGPT as we see now, but we also have to see people working with machines in the manufacturing sector. There's so much automation in the manufacturing and warehousing and logistics sector that people have to start becoming more productive working with machines. And this gives us an opportunity to enhance female labor force participation, because now you don't have that situation where there are heavy bags that are being lifted at, say, a warehouse or at a storage facility. You have automated, machinery to lift and drop equipment, for example, and women can operate that equipment as well as men can. So I think there's an opportunity to create inclusive jobs as well. Right. And the second area is the startup economy, and what I would say the disruptor creator economy, where you have a number of influencers, of course, who are coming in and using social media to promote their products products and businesses, but also new type of services coming into demand, especially in the larger cities
Right.
where we have, say, as you mentioned, party planning, events, conferences. That's a MICE economy, what we call it.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister has alluded to the concert economy.
Yes.
So I think today we have a much more diversified job base. What we don't have, however, is the skill training that's required to enter into this economy, which is widespread.
Absolutely.
We can't have that, concentrated amongst just the tier one cities. We need youth from all over the country to be able to enter and start their businesses in these new creative sectors. And for that, we need better skill training.
Absolutely. So skilling is important, and more importantly, identification of these emerging sectors is also very critical. Sajan Kumar, who's also a political analyst, joins us. Sajan, you heard the Congress spokesperson talk about, he's almost sounding alarm bells for the economy, which is what P. Chidambaram, the former finance minister, also said yesterday. But the government has also been quoting data which say that, it's not so bad, and in fact, jobs are also being created. But let's talk a little bit about politics of it. Last winter session was quite unfortunate because we saw FIRs being lodged, we saw injuries. This time, the Waqf bill is going to be a point of contention. Of course, the economy and budget also will be discussed. Tell us, what do you expect from the political approach of both NDA and the India bloc?
From the political approach, certainly, I mean, there is expected to be a confrontation because that is a new norm that we are witnessing for the last couple of years. This is one. Two, also on the question of economy, because it's the budget session. If we say this is from which vantage point you look at it, if from a global kind of a economic scenario, there is a slump, and therefore certainly there is some sort of a disappointment as far as the creating new jobs are concerned. But now also it's a question about what kind of job. When we see jobs, it doesn't mean only the private sector or the government sector conventional jobs. It also means that, I mean, to create the facilitating conditions, for example, to diversify the entire rural landscape, shifting it away from the agriculture based economy, and then ensuring the supply chain sort of a coherence. So in that sort of, besides that, also digitization, AI, and harnessing on that, and creating that lots many people are doing jobs sitting in their own comfort rather than a 9 to 5 job. So all these sort of facilitating conditions are there. So while the government has scored on these new shifts, I mean, as far as the conventional job scenarios is concerned, certainly we are witnessing some slump, and that's not India specific, that's a global specific. So, I mean, if we have these two vantage points, you will witness that the opposition and the India bloc, certainly despite their internal differences, will try to corner the government on that because there are concrete data, while the government will try to kind of claim that there are new modes of jobs that they are creating and helping people find out. So that way, politics of confrontation will be there. The same sort of
Absolutely.
scenario will be looked from two different opposing vantage point, and they will be talking at each other. Yeah, Vasudha.
Yes. Neeraj, we've been talking about fiscal prudence, fiscal consolidation. That seems to be a challenge. Your party is in power in Karnataka, and similarly, your party is also facing those challenges. Do you think welfare is something that's become a keyword, and, it's empowering a lot of poor people, and that should be there? But do you think governments as a whole are also failing to create the kind of jobs that we need, and also, for that matter, boost growth and momentum?
Vasudha, so the primary job of a government is to give a social security to its people. And it's enshrined in our constitution as well. So whenever a government of Karnataka, Himachal Pradesh, Telangana brings in a social security scheme, it is always backed by proposals of investments from other players. So for instance, when it comes to Karnataka, you'll be surprised to know this, that as per government data only, Karnataka is the #2 state when it comes to foreign investments. It has surpassed Gujarat. That vibrant Gujarat story has died, and now it is Invest in Karnataka. Coming February 10th, Invest in Karnataka summit is also happening, and we are hoping that upwards of 1 lakh crore will be invested in Karnataka. So whenever a government, Congress-backed government comes up with such scheme, they always plan how to bring in the resources. And this is the reason that Karnataka is now thriving. But for the central government, we need to understand that their approach has been lacking. Lacking in the sense that they do not understand, they do not empathize with what the common man is feeling. Today, your household inflation, when it comes to your food inflation, it is upwards of 10%. When it comes to medical inflation, it's upward of 15%. When it comes to educational inflation, your child's fees, it is upwards of 15%. So all these basic things which affect your pocket
Right.
are not a cause of concern for the
Absolutely.
people.
So it's a lot of expectations from the finance minister tomorrow. She's all set to present an 8th consecutive budget. Remember, she's been presenting budgets since 2019. Takes her very close to the record of 10 budgets that Morarji Desai presented. So that is something to look forward to. But most importantly, the kind of relief measures that are anticipated, not just by the middle class, but the poor segments of the society. That is something. And like Mitali and Neeraj also pointed out, we need innovation. We need some sense of impetus to also sectors such as agriculture, education and health. All of that is going to happen tomorrow or not is something that we'll have to wait and watch.